transfer some of it on the inside. There used to be detailing here, which has been removed. The purpose of which was to not allow the water to go through the stone. And the cement mixture that is there is not working very well. As far as the windows, there is inadequate window detailing on all of the windows above. And water can enter and it does enter. The result is this throughout, on both sides. Another reason for this is the lack of a gutter for rainwater along the roof, with the result being tons of water just coming along the building site and washing it and creating this problem. Ground level humidity. The humidity that we have here is attributed to a number of separate causes. The first one is the underground water. We have flown by drone and created a three-dimensional photogrammetric model of downtown Kormackiτη. So red is high elevation and then blue is lower elevation. This is the riverbed. These are diversions that were made with some grills close to the amphitheater over there. But generally we're in the middle of the right-of-way and water does go underground. It will find the stone, it will come and it will rise up through the foundation. We have also entered the tunnel under the church square, and we have seen that the tunnel generally does not work because the entrances to the tunnel close to the amphitheater are very small. So you have this big capacity tunnel, but the works upriver are not as complete as they should be. The other source is rainwater, and the lack of a roof drainage scheme, which could have had pipes coming down and then underground going into the tunnel, which is the ancient riverbed. This system does not exist. The church square surface has no water management system, so the water enters the concrete, it approaches the foundations, the external walls, and then begins to rise. The stucco render that has been placed has added to the problems. The stucco render has stopped the evaporation possibility. Ευχαριστώ πολύ. Hello. Okay. During the day, the humidity rises because the stucco, which is not transparent, heats up the water which is trapped behind, so it goes up. At night, the stucco cools down and then the humidity cools down and it drops. So you have a day-night cycle where water travels up and down and gradually erodes the church surface foundations. If you remove the stucco render, this is what you will see behind. We did that with Tony, and it's basically a cultivation of moss. The atmospheric humidity, which is all of these humidity sources that we have examined, bring in humidity and there is no way out for it. So we have a general problem regarding the quality of the stucco. Please proceed. High humidity and low ventilation. The conclusion here is that we need a passive ventilation system that will allow for the church to draw air from low and to expel it from high. And entrance points are the doors, and the highest exit points are somewhere on the roof, but I will leave that for Ali to describe. We see the roof as a possibility and the space that is protected that could allow us to expel air out of this roof and under the second one. The bottom line is that the cathedral is in urgent need for a full set of works. They are not all urgent, and it is a matter of budgeting that we're happy to facilitate with. And we can help form an overall budget or in the administration of the project. These are next steps. And the next steps were to have contracts for the architectural engineering and consultancy works, which has been done. Preparing drawings and specifications for works described in this presentation, which has been done. Submitting drawings for approval has not been done because the request of His Excellency and Mr. Hajianagis was to invite the community along for opinions to be heard, after which plans will be finalized. And the rest follows. A quote. This is it from me, and if there are any questions at this moment, I will be happy to address them. If you would like to hear the remedies in the proposal, see what we plan to do about it, we can proceed.
First of all, welcome, representative, dear friends. I would like you to thank God for this project and to thank the parish priest, Abuna Al-Nun, the committee, with the coordinator and others, and in a particular way our dear friends Ali and Andreas. I didn't meet you personally. Thank you. Now for, I think, maybe a good number of months, we were thinking this project of the restoration of St. George Church. And you know, after almost 100 years, our ancestors did, and today we see a big church of 100 years back. They had a very large vision that today we see it's a good and big church. It means we should be at the same level of vision to restore it and to make it nice and attractive, because it's, as we saw and we observed from the presentation, that it requires urgently restoration. I thank you for being here to participate in the reflection before the final, let's say, stage of making the decisions and presenting the projects for all the legal documentations and papers. Regarding only the liturgy, our church is very nice. It's a very Catholic Oriental combination. You see the old number of the arches. Nowadays, as Andreas mentioned, because we discussed this, we should enlarge a bit this area, because the liturgical movement, function of the Mass of the prayer, we should have more space here in order to have the altar a little bit piece of back, and then the first part of the Mass allows the movement of the priests and the ones who are serving the Holy Eucharist. For the rest, when we did a kind of sample to see the result, because the idea, the basic idea after discussions, and here we should also listen to your reactions and ideas. You know, it's a combination, a mariage, combination between showing the beauty of the stones, but also safeguarding the beauty of the plasters. So this is from the interior design. Regarding the structural things, you saw the serious problems that we have. Thank you again, and this is I think give ideas, give suggestions. This is the time to be faithful to what they did 100 years back, our ancestors, our fathers. Thank you.
Thank you. I just want to, before I start our technical findings and go through the project in detail, I wanted to express our gratitude, Andreas and I, how happy we are to be part of this restoration and renovation work of this great architectural heritage of Cyprus and the Mediterranean region. I think this is a very good examples of the churches in that area that represents a lot of detailing that it talks to the liturgy as well as the religious of the time. And we are trying to see some of these details revealed as we did some experiments. And we have done a lot of analysis and trials of which part of walls and plaster that should remain, which parts of should reveal. So we will get into a little more details and why we did it, why we choose the certain areas, and why we choose certain areas. The presentation that you're going to see is more technical, as the Andreas presentation that we did it earlier. It was part of our initial studies and analysis. And now we're, with our consultants, we're going through how we can make these detailed drawings that contractors and workers can understand, as well as to get a permit from the Department of Antiquities, Planning Department, Chamber of Architects, and Chamber of Engineering, and then present these to the municipality. Our final goal is to get all these drawings permitted, and then go out to tender, go out to bid, and then get the work started as soon as possible. Yes, please. So this is a chart that we did with the dates, our goal dates, and when we're going to submit to the permit, and each individual tasks, and who's doing what basically. So it's just kind of a little chart showing that how we approach the building and the set date lines. We are actually right here in this date. It says October 30th. This meeting was originally scheduled for October 30th, but because of some scheduling problems, we had to have it today. So our next meeting is going to be, or our next scheduled event of our technical part is here, and then we continue to meet those guidelines, and we are in very good condition, and we're on schedule. And then we started architectural drawings. I'm not going to go through every single detail, but I will just, there are a lot of drawings, so I will give you a scope and general idea, and that will open up to discussions. And I think today's meeting, one of the most important things to discuss the project altogether before we move forward to the next steps. Then I will tell you a little bit more about these. They're not very readable. They're readable there, but I don't know why that is. But basically, each area that Andreas talked about, the moving the statue, how we're going to move it, making the altar larger, removing the steps, rethinking of the plaza and church with the ramps, tying it to the terrace, to the coffee shop. How are we going to bring a disabled into the side doors? How are we going to bring disabled here? These are all drawn and established in these drawings. And then we are doing some three-dimensional studies of outside, how it's going to look. So you will see just kind of initial ideas of enlarging the central axis to the entryway and getting a ramp from here down, getting ramps up to this entryway and changing the levels accordingly as we, Anthony mentioned, we dig around the building for our findings, what's behind the foundation and what's happening in the foundation, then we will take care of those issues in our project and the drawings. Next. So these are basically I don't understand why it's not showing like that. Is it good there? Not really? Okay. So basically we were showing the new level changes and how we're going to move it out. Next. And in each elevation, this is the best elevation, we went around in each area and identified the problems and identified how much of these areas that need attention and what we're going to do, and then we start writing down the specification of how this is going to be implemented by the contractor. So when they get these drawings, they will know what area, how much square meters, and what they need to do and what kind of materials they have to use. And this is same for all 4 elevations. Just go one by one. Yep. So basically in each elevation we did the same thing. We marked the areas that needs to be having attention on removing plaster, digging for a ground source water distribution, talking about replacing the doors, what materials that new doors should be, the species of wood, and same thing for the front elevation, and same for the rear elevation. Then we went with our mechanical engineer and looked at how we can manage the issues of natural ventilation inside humidity and how we control the humidity that is actually damaging the plaster and damaging the beyond the plaster over the hundreds of years. We only see today, but these problems not happened yesterday. They've been accumulation of hundreds of years of problems that finally just bursting out saying it's enough, just do something about it, and we have to just take care of it. And then for these, we're going the next plan for the mechanical. So these all show you the different areas of how we're going to take care of the plumbing, for the, you can go to the next one. What we're doing for the natural ventilation, we're proposing having louvers over the doors that we've been studying and seeing what would be the best fit for this era and this age of the church. And that we found that those are the easiest area without disturbing a lot of stone to incorporate them into the new door design. And this one is basically, we have a little bathroom that we're putting in there. So this is just plumbing drawings for that, but we need to have all these drawings, so I'm just going through them. And these are for the units that we're proposing to put up on the balcony areas for cooling and heating, and how we're going to throw the air into the building with the duct design. So these are showing and where the compressor is going to be and how they are going to come through the building. This is what Andreas was talking about, that we will use the second roof above this as a chase, as for natural ventilation. We pull the stale air up through the ceiling by punching 1, 2, 3, 4 holes and then extending it out south, north, and through the bell towers to create this natural ventilation plan. And this will show the sizes and equipment that we're going to use. And for this, we had a structural engineer, our structural engineer, to do a detail how we're going to puncture through and what we're using and to keep the vault intact. So if you drill a hole, you have to do something about it to keep that arch from collapsing. So that what they call it in the world of structural engineers is the compression ring. So we have a compression ring that holds that structure together, which is stone in this instance. And then we had our electrical engineers to work on the electrical drawings. Basically, we would like to keep the location of the chandeliers and maybe get new 3 chandeliers that will be appropriate for the lighting the entire church, just using those. So if those are only the source of light, you will have a light source that is enough for the church. But we're also proposing a lot of additional lights that will be in the archways, but they will be hidden behind the column. So when you are sitting in the back and looking this way, or when you are here, the light is actually not hitting your eyes, and it's not bothering you, the direct light. So there will be an accessory lights, but they will be all hidden. And these are the, I'm sorry that these plans are, I don't know why they're not sure, but believe me, they're here. You can see them, but they are all here showing. And we're showing the first floor, ground floor, and all the power, and how we're going to distribute the power to all these lights and outlets, all the speakers. So our proposal for that is, when we remove this step here, we're proposing to dig along all the way and take 2 tiles out, dig under, and go to each bay, and go behind the column, and get our supply of power to each bay. By doing that, we're going to remove all of these. You're not going to see any more wires, any more fluorescent light like this, and these will be all hidden. So we will putting everything underground and coming up from each bag. And we also installing a closed caption TV cameras, both exterior of the building and interior of the building, to capture all the in and outs, basically. So these are the plan for them. And then we have an initial idea for the sound system, but our acoustical engineer will work with our sound system people and then design the best system for this fellowship hall. And then we have the lighting plan for the balcony. It's the same thing. They are mostly just indirect lights, so we don't see the light source, but you will have a light enough for, let's say, the Christmas time. You want to have some lights in, but you don't want to have these chandeliers on, so you can have the balcony lights and the church from the outside So those are the lighting plan for up in the balcony. And then power plan and CCTV for the up balcony and sound system for the balcony, showing the locations of the speakers. And I think that's our, yeah, that's the lighting plan. That's the last of the drawings. So I went really fast to give us a little bit more time. I know some of you are engineers that may want to see more detailed drawings, but we can actually look at them in the screen if you want more details. But I just wanted to talk in general. Your views, what we have been talking about, what your reaction, your responses, and your questions, so we can try to answer them as professionally and as knowledge that permit us to do. So I'd like to open the floor for questions, and then we can go over. Yes.
Thank you, Ali. I didn't get your idea clearly regarding the ventilation system. It was not clear for me.
Okay.
If you can explain that.
So we have a passive ventilation system. One is we have louvers over the doors. That will bring air in, and we put in a 30 centimeters diameter. Is it 30? 60 centimeters in diameter. Where? Just in the middle of the vault. Right there, right there, right there, right there.
Is it visible? It could be done?
Yes.
Without any damage?
So that's why I was talking about the compression. So we drill it with a bunch of holes, go around, and we remove the stone in the middle. And then as we remove the stone in the middle, we put a stainless steel compression ring that will hold everything together. The air comes in, the air rifles. So this will do this movement of the air. So it will bring air and then escapes up there and then goes through. We originally thought putting some motors on it to have it mechanical. But I think that second roof and bell tower, it will be enough suction naturally by gravity that we don't have to use electricity, we don't have to use motors. Right now we don't have a ventilation system. I think that this natural ventilation, this feels much better both in the winter and summertime. This is not just for the summer, it's for both. So you're actually bringing fresh air. So the congregation in the hot days, and there's 500 people here, that when people get tired or sleepy, it's not because they're tired and sleepy, because it's a lack of oxygen. So you're bringing oxygen, so you keep you awake when you're sleeping.
That's because of 500.
Yeah, I wasn't going to say that.
I thought that.
Right. Yes.
Thank you. I'm not an engineer or an architect, but I would like, with your permission, to read to all of us here the notes that an architect from the village sent to me to convey. And can you hear me or can you get this? Okay, this is some notes from Mr. Telestros Kalapoutis, a local architect who was from this village, and he's now in England. And he has done a lot of work with many buildings in the village, and he did not do anything specific in the church, but he has some ideas, and I think it's worth reading them for everyone to know. So I need to look at this. So I hope here. Okay, regarding the construction of the church, as we heard in a lot of detail, from our specialists here, the outside is tetrapelekiti, as we say here. I don't know if you understand, but it's tetrapelekiti in English. It's stone that it's yes, from Athena, as I think it was mentioned. And the inside, the columns, the arches, the cornices is tetrapelekiti, painted and not plastered. Okay? The inside, except the above elements, all other surfaces, like back walls in the niches for those who don't know what these areas like behind the walls. Okay? In the niches, campanario, yes, the high level, etc., are built with petra, ακανόνιστη, from Bothimos. Bothimos is an area in our village. Suvatismeni with asbestosuvas from the beginning of the construction, not at the latest stage, as some people think. That's what Teresa says, that it was asbestosuvas from the beginning. I don't think it's with the cementosuvas, which is not compatible with the stone. The cementosuvas must have been used at a later date to carry out repair work, such as at the bases of the walls around the church. The church was designed from the beginning to be generally plastered and painted inside. I do not understand how they used internally tetrapelekiti to the arches, columns, and cornices, and then painted on top. Ideally, it is the tetrapelekiti that it should be exposed internally by removing the paint, but this is tedious, lengthy, and specialized work, and will take a long time to do at a great cost. So it is best not to undertake this work if the funds are limited. In my view at this stage, the best solution with the repair/improvement works is to one, keep to the original architectural intention, i.e. with a plastered interior. This is a good background for the sculptures, hagiographies, hanging icons, and the walls, etc. The niches are normally decorated, and with time and money, they become like little chapels dedicated to saints, similar to the Nicosia Catholic Church. I attached a photo from my Italian. This is what photograph. The rest will send me some photographs or examples, but I cannot show them now. If we have some kind of communication later, and I would like, if possible, to have this presentation, I can also send you the ideas of the rest of us, and I can put him in touch with you. The example is from Italy that Teresa sent. I don't know if this is my comment, not Teresa, but I don't know if you have visited Malta and the famous St. John Cathedral in Valletta. Actually, they say that the Maltese architect who designed this church based his ideas on that famous cathedral in Valletta. And that cathedral has this idea of the little smaller churches in each of these cornices, as you call them. And each one is dedicated to one saint. This is apparently from what Lesford says, this is common in churches of this nature, this type. 2. Remove the plaster and the cement suba from the bottom of the walls, plinth, approximately 7 centimeters high, and replaster with gypsosuba, not cement suba. You can find gypsosuba ready-made from Eletico or similar. If we have to expose the stone, this should be only at this low level, not to the whole wall that exposes the Akanonisty stone as they have done as an experiment to the 2 niches that we saw there. The Akanonisty stone looks good if it is in your house, but not in a cathedral of this size. Works that I think are essential to do at this stage. 1. New electrical installation concealed, and this is many, inside the suba. By taking the subas away, it makes it life difficult with the wiring because you cannot hide it and you will end up with electrical trunking, which is the last thing you want, although you have mentioned your plans how to do the lighting. Telesphorus thinks that maybe it's better if the plaster is put back and all the wiring is hidden inside it. 2. All wires from megaphone, air fans, electrical meters, etc., as much as possible must be hidden, not exposed as they are currently. 3. Design and install new lighting, and as much as possible, use secret light to light up the arches, columns, statues, icons, etc., as you mentioned. 4. Polish and repair the terrazzo floor. This was also mentioned. 5. Remove the vitrina from the Archangelos Mikhail block all year round. Make a happening only during Christmas, as it used to be in the old days in the Netherlands, at least. That's what it's easy to see. I think the number of steps στο Ιερό need reviewing to fit with current practices, as Saidina mentioned, that we need to extend this. 7. Το Ιερό may need redesign as the temporary wooden one looks dangerous. I'm not sure it's dangerous, but the resource suggests that this should be designed. 8. Add marble or silver around the mosaic dish that contains the holy water to stop drip-stroke water being absorbed in the walls. If you really have a look at where we put our hands in the water, the walls behind are damaged because of the humidity. Produce designs that show neatly the speakers, air fans, etc., not spread everywhere and with no relation to the columns and other textual features. It's obvious that the various features on the walls and the columns are not tidy, and what the rest of us is that they should be designed to be much neater. Of course, before you do anything on the inside, you ensure that the works to the roof, external walls, round, clear stroy, windows, etc. is complete to stop moisture penetrating the fabric. 11. Get someone with the basic knowledge of displaying to advise on how and where to hang the icons which at present are spread everywhere. We finish soon. This is the last page. The only walls that may be acceptable to expose the Akanonisty Petra is those on the south walls, either side of the main entrance, and possibly those walls with the east and west entrances. what telesphore means is that if we want to leave the stone, it's the two walls at the back, that we see there at the back, and the walls that where the two doors are, the two doors on the sides. Only because here you cannot add icons. They will keep some people happy who think that walls like those with the stone are acceptable in a church of this style. In his opinion, they are not. The other problem with exposed stone, as explained above, is that it makes the electrical installation difficult, as you cannot hide the electrical cables. It is also not the right background for icons, as each color takes away that of the icons. That's it from Telesphorus.
Okay, with Telesphorus is a well-known architect. It will be our pleasure.
Question. I heard about CCTV systems, sound systems, etc. But you haven't mentioned about any security systems. Do you intend to install any security system in the church? Okay.
I will touch upon those points. And should I go back to several points and then come to your point so we don't forget about the gentleman's reading of the questions. So I think I'm mostly concur his ideas of what he's talking about. I think most of the things that we mentioned, he is also mentioning as well. One of the things that was mentioned is removing the plaster, cementitious plaster outside of the walls and replace it with the new non-cementitious gypsum pelletical kind of plaster. I think any plaster that will go back to this building eventually will come out. It could be this way. It could be 10 years from now. It could be 100 years from now. But we are trying to, we're going to remove the cementitious plaster. But what we're proposing, instead of plastering again, we would like to put a face stone, the same stone as an outside, as 10 centimeters, 7 centimeters, or 15 centimeters, depending on what we find behind when we remove the plaster. Some areas we may not have to do anything because it's only thin, very thin. And you can look at all churches and all buildings that they have damaged stone, but it's part of the age. So stone ages as we age, all material age. So I tend to agree with removing, but replastering it, I think it will be, we will have similar problems in the future. So that area, I need to, we can just exchange ideas on that. As far as removing a paint from the cornices and the columns, if you look at the base right at that entrance, the column, we have tried removing the paint, did some experiments. But what we found out, the surface, actually the oil paint that they did the cornices, they used the oil paint. And when we put the solution to remove the oil paint, it came out very easily. But below that, there is a mixture of gypsum and paint that was applied to the stone very thinly. And that material, it is very hard to remove. We tried using sandblasting. We tried using wire brushes. And what we found out that sandblasting is the best tool to remove this material, but it damages the stone quite badly. What it does, it just makes openings, the small tiny holes into the stone. And we decided to not go that route. Instead, remove the oil. Oil is a very bad paint as far as its properties for natural buildings and natural stones. It captures everything. It doesn't release anything out. So if you remove the oil, there's not too many. Just in this dark gray areas is the oil paint. But the rest of the paint is a mixture of water-based and the gypsum. So if you remove that oil paint and then replace it with a paint that is breathable, I think that will be the best, and not touch it. Cut stone. The building, most of the building is done by cut stone. Exterior, all the cornices, all the columns, even the back wall. Other than the bays. The bays are done in rubble stone. And I am thinking, looking at the details of the, if you go back and look at the head of the door and the arches over the door, that these stone may be at one point originally was designed as a stone wall. Not all of them, especially the vault. If you look at the vault, the way they built the vault, they had to use a lot of rubbles and fill it from the top and make a lot of keystones and fill it so that domes and walls are designed that way. The reason we're proposing to rebuild the plaster in these beds is threefold. One, to have the walls breathe, so there's no block, no plaster, no paint, so it will breathe. Secondly, if you want to deal with the acoustics, natural acoustics, these stone walls, the little crevices in them, it will deaden the sound and we'll have a better acoustics, but our acoustical engineer will talk to us about that later on when they do the studies. And thirdly is bringing these areas, the stone, back into the church, as far as this is a visual, not anything else. But you're saying that it does, not you, but the message saying that it doesn't provide a good background for the icons. But right now we're doing a lot of intelligent lighting, which that lighting is going to be behind the columns that will shine upon those. So I don't think that as far as background, the stone is, of course, as a white background is always the best. There's no question about it. If you go to museums, they're all white backgrounds. But as far as for this purposes, I think with the intelligent lighting, they could be also a nice background. Electrical. How are we dealing with the electrical coming from the ground and going up? And the suggestion was to go into Suwa, which actually is not that deep. It's only this much. Going deeper as a preservationist and conservationist, I don't want to damage the stone. We have to chop or cut the stone in order to go back in to fit in a pipe. So what we're proposing is when we go from underground and come up, we'll come up with the pipe. That you will see a copper pipe over the stone. This has been done in a lot of old churches that never had electricity in them. So if you go to churches that they have done recent preservation and renovation work, you can see these pipes coming up. You can paint them, it could be copper, it could be brown, it could be color of the stone, but you will see a pipe about ½ inch diameter or so. Yes?
I want to ask how much this project is going to cost?
Good question.
And also, when it's going to start the works, when are they planned to start? And when do you plan to complete according to the plan schedule? And also, if you have some pictures or 3D designs of the inside, how it's going to look
Yes.
in the air. You saw something on the outside.
As far as how much it's going to cost, now with this architectural engineer drawings, we are involving a quantity surveyor that's going to help us. So these drawings now going to go to quantity surveyor, and they will give us a budget. In our timeline, right now, I don't know. If I tell you anything, I will be lying to you. I'll be lying to you. So I don't want to tell you something to make you feel good, but it's not there. If I tell you a number, I'm not going to hold on to that number. So quantity surveyor will make some assessments, and for all the work we're talking about, we are not going out to bid for everything. This is our wish list. We want everything to be done, and this is our wish list. And when the quantity surveyor gives us some estimates of how much it's going to cost, we're going to phase it. Say the budget is X, and we have to meet that X number, so we can phase the work accordingly. We can do interior first, we can do some of the exterior, we can do doors, I mean, those kinds of stuff. Our schedule.
I would like to clarify here at this point that both architects, Ari and Andreas, as well as the consultants, are not recognized 100%. They are agreed very and very large to a fixed amount, paying which really does not even cover their expenses. Both of them are extremely highly inspired, and they want to do it. They love it.
As far as the work schedule, in our timeline, we're submitting the drawings to the Department of Antiquities at the first of the year. Depending on how we get response from you today and make those changes. And as far as right now, I don't think there's a lot of changes that I can hear about, but our goal is to submit the drawings to the Department of Antiquities in the first of the year.
Briefly, I have been taking notes regarding Mr. Kalakudis, the comments relayed, for which we are always thankful. The responses I can add is that the best solution suggested to keep the plaster on the inside, on the basis that this was the historical starting point. We have found no proof. And if there is any proof, we would like to know about it. The initials to become challenge is a lovely idea, and we will aim towards this direction. To remove cement and replace it with gypsum, I agree with Ali. We will run into the same problems. The new electrical installation to hide it, our solution is fairly complete, and as Ali has described it. All wires will be hidden, and we will use the backside of the arches from which we will install both lighting systems, sound systems, CCTVs, minimizing interference and point of contact between the ancient structure and the modern mechanics. We agree that we will design and install secret lights. At night, the overall effect will be the stone around us will be lit without seeing the source of it. Each one of the columns of the main space will be lit from the floor up, and we have the 3 lights at the center. We agree that the floor should be polished, and this was our intention. We were happy to hear your views about the removal of this glass. It's a point that we have not touched upon, but we would like to know. The steps we agree with the table to be redesigned, I think it's already been taken care of. We agree that the marble around area where the water is used, or something of that order, should be installed. The idea that we should complete the outside before starting the inside is not a bad one, and it has been our early action, and we have already taken remedial measures on the roof, and we have an inspection after the site meeting for some of these works. Where to hang icons, if we can be placed in touch with a person that would allow us to rationalize the placements and to design particular niches, we will be very happy to assist as architects. As far as removing stone only from certain walls, I don't share this view personally because of the reasons that he has explained, which are substantial.
What's more clarification about the removal of the plaster? Because I don't know if people here understand, I don't understand.
Please.
Are we going to remove the plaster from all these walls?
This wall behind us cannot be touched. It cannot, because it is hewn stone. It is the same quality and methodology as the columns. Yes. Yes. The base. The base.
We need to be very careful as we are moving the plaster, lest there are any mosaics underneath. Because just outside the church, very recently, 25 years ago, we had a small chapel, Virgin Mary, which had mosaics, and our specialists hammered the mosaics so that the plaster would stick on it. It wouldn't stick because there were mosaics. They hammered them, took them out for the plaster to go, and it is plaster, and it is causing problems both within and outside the structure. Thank you.
For that comment, I think we should walk behind the steps and look at the external things. So those are the areas where we can produce damage or more damage. So we still need that.
Yes. Δώστε μου ένα λεπτό παρακαλώ μόνο. Ευχαριστώ. Η ερώτηση του Μάρκο είναι για το πώς είναι how the electrical will be resolved. That has been addressed. And Agis asked about the cost and the start dates. And the cost and the start dates, once the specification is finalized, we will be able to go to the next step and possibly hold the next presentation. Inside pictures, we have, if you have any of the computer, you can just put them up there. I'm ready to take a question. Μπορώ να πάρω την ερώτηση σας.
Μια ιδέα είναι να πω. Και έμεινα είμαι ο ηλεκτρολόγος που πάμε την εκκλησία αυτή. πρώτα. Μια ιδέα εγώ να φτιάξει ένα πλάκι, να γίνει ξύρωτα, να υπάρχει κορδί και να γίνονται όλα τα καλωρία στον καιρό του. Και να μπει η ταινία πίσω. Με το ταινία. Να μπει η ταινία με να κυβίσει ένα πέρα.
The gentleman is the electrician who has performed electrical works. From his experience, he suggests that we dig a channel along the columns and install the main trunk of cabling over there with junction boxes, somehow accessible. And from there on, move behind the arches and use a LED light on the back side of the arches that will shine the light on the stone wall. What the gentleman has described is our intention. This is what we're trying to do. And do the Buddha give us a count.
Όπως δεν είδαμε το πράγμα, να γίνει μια κορνίζα, ένα ξύνο και να κινηθούν τα μέσα τα καλωρία. Να πει ένα ξύνο
Regarding placing wood, we would not do it because it would affect the appearance of the church. But there are other ways to do it. If you would like to, we can meet, exchange telephone numbers and discuss our solutions with you and learn. Μπορούμε να μάθουμε από την δουλειά σας μετά από τη συνάντηση, να ανταλλάξουμε τηλέφωνα και να είμαστε σε επαφή. Θα σας τα δείξουμε ό,τι τα βλέπουμε. Χαρά μας μεγάλη και τιμή μας. Όχι, δεν γίνεται πέτρα.
This shows what this is our earlier studies, but as we did experiments and we come to the conclusion not to reveal this.
So this part of the building is going to stay as painted, but the niches will be stone.
It's better not to be touched.
Because it's a cut stone, as well as we will be damaging the stone, which I have to reiterate this idea of damaging the stone. I'm very sensitive of not damaging the stone, not cutting into the stone, but celebrating the stone and preserving the stone. So, and any suggestion that will actually not from the community, but any people that have technical expertise that will suggest that we should do this, but the end result will be damaging the stone, I think I'll stand in front of them and say no. So I am very strict about not damaging the stone and trying to save the stone.
Humidity is another one problem. Can I answer it? Thank you. Humidity is by far the number one problem. And in the process of resolving humidity, the square also becomes a part of it. And it's also an opportunity to create a number of spaces that will allow for multiple functions that will bring the community closer to this building. This is the top priority. The rest of it is lower cost. The creation of niches and the celebration of saints in these niches that will be surrounded by stone and separated from the other one because of the column, which will be different, will probably be more successful we're at the disposal of the community in general to set the priorities after our designs are finalized and hosted and brought to your attention. I think that will be the time.
I would like to, if I may,
Okay, first of all, I would like to thank the committee of the church for giving us this opportunity to view the plans for the church and present our opinions. And also thank Andreas and Ali for all their hard work. It's very obvious to all of us that a lot of hard work has been done. I know from speaking to Andreas earlier that he's managed to climb into places that a lot of us who are from this village have never been, like the tunnel under the church or the top of the belfry, so his enthusiasm, I think, is obvious for all of us to see. Now, if understood correctly, from the point of, obviously the structural improvements are the main thing that has to be given priority in order to preserve the church. And from the point of view of aesthetics, the main difference being proposed is that the four niches on either side of the church, at least as far as the interior is concerned, will the stone will be exposed for reasons of preserving the stone and for aesthetic reasons. My 2 points that I wanted to add was one, repeat the point about the security, especially with regards to the museum. I know I bring friends and visitors to the village, and I'm always scared to show them the museum of the church, because maybe something will go missing afterwards, and I'll always feel, you know, maybe better not to show it. But it's a shame to have a museum, to have the exhibits that we have there, and not be able to show them to our visitors and show our cultural ecclesiastical history. The second point is a general point whether, as part of the renovation, and I understand that an expansion is considered for the whole area of the holy, whether we could make some kind of provision for alternative uses of the church without actually affecting its liturgical use. For instance, it could be used, especially if the acoustics are improved, for small-scale concerts, which would allow us to utilize the building for perhaps organizing a festival in the village with choirs, small things, which would give another promotion to our village and our community. I'm not an expert on this, I may be suggesting something that is not feasible, but it's just an effort.
Thank you. Regarding the icons and the museum, of course, for the time being they are here, but for the time being. It was a good step, very creative and positive step made before to have already the museum, even if it's small in this condition. But in our plan, there is something later on more convenient as a place for the museum. So, but it's good. And regarding the pastoral and the activity, when we lower the level of the holy altar near the Triumphima, so I think more space will be created for performances and concerts.
I think Akis, being an accountant, asked how much. I'm also an accountant. I will ask how long. How long will it take, and what will be the disruption to the users, which are mainly the inhabitants of the village? I think this is something we would like to know. Thank you.
This has been noted, and when we put down all of the jobs with a cost, there will be a time factor. And
for the interior, the church will be closed immediately after Easter or St. George, 23rd of April, whatever permits more, and certainly we were absolutely ready for December. That's the plan. The interior, I'm talking the interior. And we are taking, doing a lot at Old St. George Church up there. We are also starting with Mary now, so that we can use both those churches during that period.
I don't know, maybe we can also discuss this practical daily life use of the church with the architects, if there are also other options during the work dividing crews, because it's not an easy situation. But you know, always when we restore a building, we will sacrifice a certain time to finish. Yeah. And we will discuss it later on.
And I have some ideas for it. Accessory or any help from the sidelights. And to iterate that point, when we hang the chandeliers, they're not going to be hanged from the steel ties. They're going to hang from all the way from the stone where the hooks are. So those are where the original chandelier should be come down. So these lights are accessory lights. And again, these are the main lights. Only these can just light the entire church, but these for the indirect lights that we're using as an accessory.
Sockets in many places, for many purposes. You have to put all these sockets. Then there are many wires regarding the sound system. I don't know if you are planning to put something that it is wireless, but I don't think it's a good idea because you have many interferences. So it's better to be wired. Then I think that there is the need to put lights in some places, but you have to find a way to hide. And I don't agree with the suggestion to put all these pipes to be seen from outside. You have to find a way to hide all these pipes. I saw church to the other side, and what they do, they remove some stones, they put the pipes, and then they put back the same stones. Okay, so everything is hidden, and so the eyes will be aesthetic, because we will not see all these wires and all these pipes. That's my opinion. That's the way we have to do it. Otherwise, because of the fact that there are many wires here, because we have too many systems, we will lose the aesthetic. It is not a good idea to put pipes in all these wires.
I think we're going to use the columns to our advantage. What does that mean? I can illustrate. If we go back to the column, right here. I'm coming from the ground, I'm digging, I'm going this way, and going behind of this up to the cornice, from the top of the cornice, and if I have any light, it will be there. If I have any speakers, it will be there. You will not see any pipe, unless you come this way. The outlets, they'll be right here, so you're going to see this much pipe right behind it. So we're thinking about that pipe is just being in the inside corners of this column, but not from the front of it. So that is what we're thinking about it. And usually I'm just not going to remove the stone, but even just remove the plaster, will damage the stone that I don't want. Removing a stone and putting it back together, I think it will take the history of 100 years and you just make it. So I don't want to come sound as a preservationist that nothing has to be touched within this stone, but it is very hard seeing the stone structure in the bag as well as the cut stone. It's really, especially inside cut stone, they are laying a couple of millimeters, 3 millimeters joints. It will be really hard to remove and put back together. So that's the reason we're choosing this hiding element behind the column.
Which is also very, very serviceable as well. It's unseen and serviceable. It's both a conduit and the structure on which to support anything that we need. This is the general idea. But if you would like to, we can present plans and discuss them in further detail. There are a number of people that would like to ask questions at the back. Can I proceed? Ο κύριος ήταν πριν από το όνομα σας.
Αντιλαμβάνομαι το σοβαρό πρόβλημα που έχουμε είναι η υγρασία με τα στέγη. Το πιο σοβαρό πρόβλημα που έχουμε. Υπάρχουν ειδικά μηχανήματα που είναι εναλλάκτες φρέσκου αέρα και πάνελ, τα οποία μπορούν να χρησιμοποιηθούν και να αλλάξει το αέρα μέσα στην εκκλησία και να μην δημιουργείται τόσο πολύ υγρασία. Και ιδιαίτερα μέσα στο μουσείο που έχουμε αυτές τις εικόνες που είναι πολύ ακριβές, αυτό το μηχάνημα είναι πολύ ιδανικό για αυτόν τον σκοπό. Να αλλάξει τον αέρα και να μην δημιουργείται αυτή η μεγάλη υγρασία. Είναι heat recovery που ονομάζονται αυτά τα μηχανήματα. Είναι πολύ καλά για τον σκοπό αυτό που θέλετε να κάνετε.
Μια εξαιρετική εισήγηση για το μουσείο. The question raised, or the point raised, was that the humidity could be controlled by the use of a heat recovery and humidification system. This applies definitely in the case of the museum and the artifacts, but trying to apply this on a scale of the whole church would impose a large operational cost. Πάνω να δοκιμάσουμε στο μουσείο, ναι, την εισήγησή σας, στο γενικό χώρο το κόστος της λειτουργίας του συστήματος. Η μηχανολογία είναι ευτυχώς έρθει όταν εξαντλήσουν τα παθητικά μέσα οι αρχιτέκτονες για να είναι πιο μικρά τα φορτία και τα προβλήματα. Να χαρούμε να έρθουμε σε επαφή. Κύριος.
Cooling system at the balcony, and when we have them on, it will take a lot of humidity out.
It's a provisionally. That's a provision.
Cualquier padre tiene να αλλάξει μέσα στο αέρα. Δηλαδή, βάζει τον αέρα μέσα και δεν τον αφήνει να σπάσει τα λέμματα.
Γιατί την ενέργεια, κρατά την ενέργεια. Σωστό κύριε Γεωργίου. Το όνομα σας?
Instead of having the electrician tracking pipe, because all we need is a pipe right to the wire, correct? We can use a decoration, something like this pipe there, to be a part of the whole decoration of the church. And we can put through these pipes the wire. Nobody knows that it's a wire battery.
I think in some of the instances, that's a very good idea, that we need, if we need to have something, let's say there, exactly, that will be
on the wall.
That will be very good.
So we can cut the wires inside.
Thank you, that's a good idea.
Σε κάποιο χώρο να μπουν ξεχωριστά, διότι αντιλαμβάνουμε ότι οι διακόπτες του ηλεκτρισμού δεν θα μπορεί να μπουν μαζί με το ηχητικό σύστημα, διότι θα έχει διάρκεια. Είναι ξεχωριστοί οι χώροι και αν σε τέτοια περίπτωση είναι ξεχωριστοί, πόσους χώρους από αυτούς θα χρειαστούν για να σε δουν.
The question raised had to do with the location of the panels, and in particular, if we plan to have separate locations for the electricity panels from the ones that transmit and manage the sound system. The answer is that we're planning for 2 locations. We plan to accept the electricity from that point next to the entrance. We do not see a need to change the location. And the remaining panels like CCTV and electricity and sound are going to be inside the sacristy.
This is just a general statement now. First of all, of course, we thank you and we see that you are very keenly interested in helping. I would like to point out something. This church was built by the people of this village, our grandfathers, with hard work from them and with a lot of sacrifices. We grew up here. Most of us served as altar boys behind there. I set fire on this altar twice, okay, behind the altar. Now we love it, we care for it. You can see the interest here from everyone. At the same time, the people of this village are very conservative. They are very conservative. What we have, our tradition, is very important to us. We want to be very careful. Please, you know, I know that specialists, I know that artists, they like to experiment, they like to try new things, and obviously this is the way forward. But please also have in mind that the people of this village who built it, who grew up here, they wanted to be very careful and very respectful of this place. Thank you very much.
I 100% respect the sentimentality of villages.
We need some packaging to say that. We have our representative, Mr. Usas here. We want you to say hello to us. Tell us, give us some inspiration.
We conclude with the representative.
Okay. Well, you know, it's mostly the work of experts. Okay? So, I mean, we are here, of course, we are very happy to hear all these presentations and about the vision that you have for this church. But this is not only a church, you know. He said something, I will add on it. It's the symbol for the Maronite society. This building here, this church, is the symbol of the entire community, and it has been our flag, actually, for the struggle for survival.
So, you are taking care of the most important symbol of the Maronite of Cyprus. Please, do it with the most possible care and attention. We are not the experts. We will wait and see the result. And we hope that we will have the best result. Now, stone, no stone, we are not going to have a referendum. You have to decide. The experts has to take the responsibility and to decide. And from there on, we wish you all the best. We stand next to you, and we hope that we will witness this joy for our people and for the community. Thank you very much.
You know, really, this meeting was for me personally a big help, because it was needed to feel what you feel and to see what you see regarding this symbol, this church, this liturgical place, community, etc. I think what we were discussing with our friends until now is not to change, not to do big changes, just to clean. You know, it's a kind of cleaning. Because even from the last times, the first times of the church, of the history, we didn't have such things we have now, because they were added, and sometimes in a chaotic way, or in a very spontaneous way, or in a way. So the question, the main line of this restoration is to clean, to put things in order, and to keep the church as it is. Now, this idea of stones, of course, we will mature it more and more, but you know, because in the wider Maronite church nowadays, there is a kind of return to the origin places, to the origin times of our Saint Maroon, Saint Charbel, the monasteries. So this kind of combination or showing specific points of the stones is also symbolic. It reminds us our origin places and our, let us say, patrimony, monastery. When we see stone, it gives us Prophet Elijah, it gives us our old churches here, already here. So even if it's 100 years only, it helps us to go to Annaya, to Marsharbel. You know, you see there is a symbolic also motivation behind it. Anyway, we mature it, we take our time to finalize this specific item of stone and plaster. And I don't see until now an exaggerated move of big transformation and big change. So hopefully we will start soon, and you will join this work, because this is you, this is yours, and I think before Mario, I want to conclude. You want to add something now?
Please let us celebrate next week.
Yeah, hopefully. Yeah. Let us pray, let us conclude with a prayer, please. Tere Maria, Amin. Ευχαριστώ πάρα πολύ. Να είστε καλά.
Είσαστε σήμερα εδώ μαζί. Αυτό πράγμα να μην σκεφτείτε.
Έτσι, να δίνετε δύναμη. Να σας πω κάτι. Όλα τα μέλη της Εκκλησιαστικής Επιτροπής δεν εργάζονται μόνο με αυτό το λόγο. σοβαρή εισφορά ατμοσφαίρων από το